Hey, and welcome back to the podcast. Neil Chua is here, and he's the CEO and co-founder of Voltage Holdings. They are a company specializing in launching, consulting, selling, and acquiring brands with a focus on the e-commerce channels such as Amazon FBA and also multi-channel. So Neil is going to tell us about what he's seen, what he's built, what he's accomplished, and how we can perhaps avoid some mistakes that are easily avoidable, but also go deep into what is working. What are the success factors? What we should be doing just create the business of our dreams, create the lifestyle we want. So Neil, glad to be speaking with you.
Thanks for having me on, Robert. I appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you too. And so we introduced you a little bit, hyped you up, and in your own words, what are you all about? What's your current focus and passion?
Well, current focus and passion is the balance of family and work life. As I have a lifestyle kind of driven business, I've spent the last 17 years kind of building up this opportunity to not have any employees and build physical product businesses and private label. I really focus on the consultative side of the business as well as the M&A or acquisition side now. So I really focus on buying these companies and growing them and launching them and helping others figure out what the heck to sell on Amazon or any channel for that matter. While we start on the Amazon FBA channel, I do that because people who want to get invested in this kind of business model typically have one major problem. And they think it is, what the heck do I sell? But that's actually a solvable problem when you get into the numbers. But it's the realization that I need people to see my product. I need eyeballs on the offer. If I'm going to offer something to sell, I need somebody to buy it. And that's why I like to take people who are new to the Amazon FBA channel, where they're doing over 8,600 units a minute right now during the holiday season. And that channel is a monster of sales. And that's everybody who goes there is buying something. So it's the easiest place for people to first get access to product sales and drive revenue so they can start their business.
And I think that right there is huge, that a lot of people are so hung up on just getting off the launching pad on just like, in any case, right? My e-commerce product, my website, my webpage, and guys like you and me are like, this traffic problem, you got a long road ahead of you. So it's in your best interest to like get some traffic, get yourself in front of some place where there's some buyers. That way you can figure out some of this stuff out. And like the kids these days, they'll never be appreciative of the value of something like eBay or Amazon or YouTube.
The struggles we had.
Yeah. The hard thing to figure out is the traffic, and they're out there like channels like Amazon have figured it out, but it's like, well, get over your perfectionism, procrastination, because there's actually helping the people on the other side of all that stuff. And so when you say that you like to acquire these businesses or teach people, help them out, like right off the bat, like, is there something that just drives you crazy as far as like a number one mistake people make with e-commerce and FBA?
Well, I think in general, it's more of a business than a channel problem. Because a channel has its own troubles. If you're going to try to sell on Amazon or eBay or TikTok shops or build a Shopify or your own website or flip your widgets wherever you're going to do it, that is all a challenge. And really the only thing you're going to be able to do to overcome that challenge is actually execute, even imperfectly, and something perfect will happen along the way. So at the end of this, I think what it gets down to is understanding the opportunity and getting out of any scarcity or limiting beliefs you might have, and realizing that there are millions of product opportunities for you to sell. There are millions of ways to sell products online and business online, digital and physical. And I think that's a little bit of the struggle these days, Robert, is people kind of acquiesce. What should I actually do? Down to, what should I sell? Because there are so many different ways to do it now, right? I mean, if you, wanted to make some side hustle cash, maybe flip up an OnlyFans. That seems to be doing pretty well these days. Don't highly recommend it. I have 4 daughters, but that's to more power. We have freedom in our country, so knock yourself out. But I prefer the physical product space that connects to the digital. So I'm not purely digital. I appreciate that we have the digital side of the e-commerce world now to deliver these physical products, but also keeping in mind that's the second oldest profession in the world is selling products. So at the end of the day, we're just using digital commerce as a way to facilitate a transaction with the physical product. So for people to kind of get through the process of understanding what to sell, they first need to understand that it isn't a home run lottery mindset mentality that comes to the table. It is a process, meaning I don't need to invent something. I don't need to be the most unique. I don't need to try to get on Shark Tank, even though I know those guys and my mentor is Kevin Harrington. But at the end of the day, you need to understand that innovation wins the day. Okay. If you find a product that you can innovate really in simple terms, and add value back to it and continue to add value over the long term, you can create a brand out of that. Now, flipping products, Robert, from 0 to 100, a lot of people can flip products in side hustle cash, right? And make $2,000, $3,000 a day, a month, or even a day, I suppose, if you push it really hard. to flip side hustle. What I'm not talking about in that respect is the difference between building a business and flipping some product for cash, and that is building a brand. So, what I want people to really think about is when you're attracted to a product, you're typically attracted to the emotional relationship and outcome of the brand. Okay, it's why you would choose one burger joint over the other 5,900. It's why you would choose, one ice cream shop over the other one. It's why you choose one particular shoe over a different brand, or a certain car over another car, or whether you're an iPhone or an Android fanboy. At the end of the day, you're brand driven. And we all like to think we're super unique, but at the end of the day, we have certain brands we're locked into, right? And with that, I want to capture that brand authority and build that narrative into new products. And one of the easiest ways for me to leverage that as a household name that no one's ever heard of is to borrow the Amazon interface, borrow their brand, and put my products in front of their customers to find out what the heck they actually want to sell. So the real trick is making sure that it's profitable.
Okay, and you're here to tell us, to set us straight on how to do that, because
Yeah,
there's so much you mentioned, right, about the kind of having a plan, doing the work,
yeah,
executing, getting past the mistakes, and then there's a lot of looking at the numbers with the e-commerce guys like you, and rightly so, right? You look at the traffic, you look at the cost, you look at the conversion rate, and all these different things that you can tweak and
correct.
change. And so, like, just what comes to mind is you're talking about this idea that maybe people are afraid of the irreversible actions, right? As
Of
long as
course.
I'm always researching, studying, learning about these different platforms, what I could possibly do in the future, then I haven't made a mistake yet. There's nothing like there's no having to go back because I haven't even started. And so you mentioned how we need to have that abundance mindset, not a scarcity mindset. And Neil, I'm always of the attitude of like, I know I won't completely eliminate my scarcity mindset, so I'll redirect it and say like, okay, I know that if I don't get this e-commerce brand set up on FBA in the next 30 days, for example, I know some other distraction will like steal my attention. And so what can someone do if they say, okay, I've seen the error of my ways. I know that I'm not taking enough action on getting this e-commerce business set up. Like, what can someone do in the next 30 days or in a reasonable length of time to just like overcome all this limitation and get some stuff set up?
Well, in simple terms, you need to schedule out some time every day. Okay. If you can schedule out 18 minutes a day for an entire year, they say you can master anything you put your mind to. 18 minutes a day, every day for a year. That takes real dedication. That takes thinking about life and activities and whatever, exercise you're trying to do, physical, mental, spiritual, professional, business related. That 18 minutes a day, I'm going to do this. I'm going to block out that time from my schedule. I'm going to dedicate it to this one focus. And the goal is that you will set yourself up for a longevity mindset. You will set yourself up for a marathon mindset, not a sprint. So many people sprint and have never even got off the couch to try and then get winded and die in the process. They give up because they get a pain in their side or a pain in their head or something distracts them and they simply just give up. And those who are tenacious and go getters and persevere through this will get out every day for 18 minutes and do something. Okay. If it's just walking, okay, you realize if you did that every day for a whole year, you'll basically run the equivalent of 26 marathons. So if you say, well, I've never ran a marathon, well, get up and walk every day. You do 10,000 steps a day for a year and you will have done that. So I think you have to break it into small chunks that you've got to bite off so that over 30 days, could I dedicate, 18 minutes minimum every day for 30 days to this new task, to this new effort, to this new thing, right? It's so easy in the world we live in now to see the 19-year-old life coaches out there, just appear and to crush it on social media. And so much is that an image. So much of it is an image that's created. But in actuality, what you don't see are people like us who are crushing it out there. And we might post a video and get 200 views because we're just not out there to gain the views or likes or, this kind of thing. It's not what we do. But I wanted to offer some value, but I don't get the same views and stuff. And I know a lot of my friends who really are successful in business, if they post something online, it doesn't get this massive splash. And so what you have to get down to is really understanding that a daily, weekly, monthly exercise task for your brain, it is a muscle, and a physical activity that ties that together to translate into that knowledge, that exercise you're doing, that activity that turns into the knowledge has to combine both of those activities. You have to actually do something, not just think about something. If you want to make money thinking, go get a corporate job and just think for 40 hours a week, and that's what they're going to pay you to do. If you actually want to make money in the online world and become an entrepreneur who becomes a business owner, who becomes a business investor someday, then you actually have to put physical activity down. And that's when you actually get to the experience. Now, you have to fail up. Okay. Everybody fails out too often, too fast, too quickly. They get on their bicycle with their training wheels and they go ride one time and they're like, well, this sucks. It doesn't work. Right? If you've ever ridden a bike and you manage to get on the first time and ride it up a hill without training wheels, you're a freaking genius. You're awesome. That's great. You're like one of the less than 1% of the rest of the world. Kudos to you. The rest of us have to get on the bike 15 times and fall off until we can finally put the training wheels on. Take them off, I should say. And so you've got to really think about it in terms of what you're willing to do. If you're willing to put the time, energy, and attention into it, and you know where you're going to put your money in your own effort, then bet on yourself. Bet on yourself for 30 days, 18 minutes a day, and watch what happens.
Very nice. And that's a reasonable commitment, right? To set this new habit. It's one thing to say 18 minutes a day for a year and someone says, oh my gosh, I don't even know what I'll be doing in a year. But hey, just start small, start doable and simple. Start with a month and see what happens. So that way you fail up instead of failing out.
That's
and
right.
You're so right that we have different goals than the 19-year-old life coach, right? Who knows what they're
So
doing to like inflate their numbers. And we're like, hey,
Yep.
we're here to make money. I'm here
That's
to
right.
post and teach some stuff and to build an actual real business. And everything you're saying here, like having a plan and having time blocked out, that's like what a serious business person would do versus someone that's kind of maybe just hoping that luck will work out or my genius or flying by the seat of my pants.
No,
Like
we
all
do
that stuff
time blocking.
runs its
Yeah,
course.
time
Yeah.
blocking is a big component of being able to get executable items done in the business as we run meetings and teams and do kinds of things, to execute the particular business. But, on the lines of a part of your original question, as you spend that time, you should spend it with purposeful action on something. If it's in the e-commerce world, it should be looking at the products that you could possibly answer the question, what the heck do I sell? We challenge everybody to do that in 21 days and build a 500 product list. We call it the most products you can think of. Everything
Nice.
goes on the list. And as you start to go through that process in 18 minutes a day, you're doing that. You'll find very quickly, you'll find 100, 200, 300 products. If you just put them all on a list, you will realize that you're now conditioning your brain away from consumerism and into more of a business mindset, which is if I can sell it, I can make money with it. Not if I purchase it, what am I going to gain from it? So if you can shift that thought process over to what is the person going to gain or what were they going to gain, what maybe I was going to gain from the product that I purchased, a shortcut for that is just go look at your own Amazon history for the last 180 days and look at all the things you bought. By Amazon's own admission, 60% of those products, the equivalent of 489 billion a year, goes to third-party sellers on the Amazon platform. Okay? That means that those products were sold by people like us. All right? So what you do is start to identify those. Look at the products in our world. We look at the $50 to $250 retail price points. And we say, why did I buy that product? That's your first question. Why did I buy that? If I didn't buy it, why did my wife buy it or my significant other buy it? What was the purpose or outcome of that product? And was there a $29 version? And if there was, why did we buy the 59? And if there's a 59, was there a 99 or a $199 version? And why didn't we buy that one? Okay, you start to think about the questioning and generalities. And from there, you'll have a list that grows really large. So you have another problem. It's not, what the heck do I actually sell? It's how do I make it profitable? And that's where we go by the numbers. And that is to ensure profitability per each unit. So each unit sold turns into a brand, and the brand is profitable, and that turns into a business. We want a product that has more than $12 in net profit per unit. That means after fees, platform fees, TikTok, Amazon, FBA, whatever the fees are, after your cost of goods, which means how much did it take me to acquire this product, after my marketing cost and storage cost and fees of over the top, should I be able to get $15 to $12 to $15 in net profit out of that product after all those costs are realized? Those are the numbers that we go by. Now, we typically want to see 24, 36 or more in profit per unit. That's what we're shooting for. Because it takes as much energy and attention to move a product that's $20 as it does one that's $99. The perception and the limiting belief that kicks in is that, well, I can't sell as many of the 99 as I can the 20, and that's actually wrong. Okay, that's a limiting scarcity belief mindset. All right, I've got plenty of case studies that can prove you wrong in that way. And we've sold most of our products in the $50 to $250 range, giving us much more profit per unit, which powers ourselves, pays for our business, pays for employees, pays for marketing. It's that profit that becomes the engine of the business that everybody ultimately wants. It's not so cool to have a 7-figure business and spend $6.999 million making it happen. What we want is a 7-figure business that turns over $200,000 to $400,000 in profit every year on that 7 figures in revenues, because revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash flow is king.
Very nice. And we have the data to help us out here, right? We can look at all these Amazon listings, there's all these tools, there's all these tricks, techniques. And so this is great for us to think about that it kind of there's definitely a path to success here, right? And it takes like kind of having this one mindset and shifting gears to another mindset. It's like you start with the kind of the creative side and saying, well, let me brainstorm all these products, and that's great to give you to like generate some excitement, to get you some progress. And you say, okay, well, now let's apply the math, right? Now
Yep.
let's
Now
take
let's
that
get the
long
math down.
list and like narrow down and say, well, only a handful of these are valuable.
Yeah.
But then you can then take the next step and like look at the competitors and look at your browsing history and why did I buy that? It's a very logical step-by-step process, but
It is.
also sounds like fun, right? We can
It is
work our
fun. I
brain
think
and,
it's
and
fun.
apply some experiments.
Well, get in there, and that's part of the work. It's part of the fun. It's part of the idea. You have to go shopping for the ladies who are paying attention. Basically, you're going shopping for products. It's just you have to connect the dots on the end to make sure it's profitable. Guys, too, you get to go shopping. Yay. What you look for, though, is what we call the circle of confidence. That is products that evolve around your life, your friend's life, or people that you know to the point that you might name one of them. Could be your wife, Jennifer. Could be your aunt, Uncle Jeannie, or whatever. Could be your Uncle Dan. The end result is that they are a person by which you start to define who they are, what they like, where they go, what kind of car they drive. You start to build an avatar, okay, a profile of this person, of their life, why they prefer this thing over that thing, why they like this widget over another, why does he like this hammer versus that, why DeWalt versus Milwaukee, why does she like KitchenAid versus Cuisinart. You go in and you start understanding the differences, and so you can start building a profile of products that are familiar to you, maybe even familiar to your life or work or preferences you have. Out of that, it gets a little more fun when you start to realize, well, shoot, I bought that kitchen milk frother for $59. I could sell one. Like now I could start selling milk frothers, right? So when you get to that realization, the next thing is to understand the brand, which is what we call don't marry your product, steal somebody else's instead. There's so much data in there that we don't want to get locked into marrying a single product. It's called our 5x5 product launch playbook. 5 products is your ultimate goal at the bottom of that big list, okay? To find the most profitability, most upside potential, most understanding, most avatar of products that we're finding for our particular person we can name, and we're going to move 5 of those products into market. Not 1, okay, not 2, not 3. We're going to move 5. Why? It's the law of averages, okay? If I launch 5 products, the likelihood that 1 or 2 of them will pop off is a higher propensity of success than if I launch one product and throw it in the wind and hope it solves all my Lambo hopes and dreams. It isn't going to happen unless you're going to hit a 1%. It's the lottery mindset, scratch or sniff, hopium kind of thing. And we don't supply that in this environment because that's not the way business truly works. It works by a process of elimination, of looking at the data, okay, not ordering 5,000 of that one product of the 5 we're going to test, but only ordering 100 of each of those products and saying, okay, market, here's 100 of each of these product types in my brand, and I want you to tell me which one you like the most of, okay? Did you like this one? Did you like that shape? Did you like the 24 quart? Did you like the black one? Did you prefer the red one? And let the market, which is very smart, tell us what it wants from us. And then what do we do next, Robert? We give it more of what it wants, okay? When it comes back and the product, 1 or 2 of those products starts taking off and those 100 units start going out the door in 45 or 65 days, and we're like, dude, these ones are starting to sell like really fast. We'll take those products and we'll order 1,000 of each of them. We will put good money after the product we know. The other ones we didn't marry, we'll let them sell, which they will sell, and we'll let them sell out of that product and recoup our money, and then put all of our money, energy, and capital into the ones that are working, okay? Now, we don't invent. We're not inventing anything. We're simply making something better. What does that look like? Okay, you remember the crock pot? You may have had one. Your mom had one. Your grandma had one. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
what was the innovation to a crock pot?
I don't know.
The Instapot. The Instapot was the answer to it's not your mother's crock pot. It's not your grandma's crock pot. It's safe. It has features. You can put it on the countertop and not worry about it burning down. Okay, one of the big things about crock pots is people don't burn your house down, right? And so the next one was, well, it sets temperature, it sets gauges, it's easier to maintain control and temperature. Crock pots, well, is low, medium, or high? What temperature is that exactly? I don't know. It's like you always went to get grandma's beans and they're burnt. So with an Instapot, it sort of solves that problem, right? It also solves the ability to create a hot meal, know that it's safe on the counter, and come home and feed your family something good. So the Instapot was simply an innovation of the crock pot. Now, what's the next innovation that came off of that? Not an invention, just another innovation. It's another
Like
desktop cooking.
we have like a ninja, like a air fryer,
The
all
air
in one
fryer
kind of
was
thing.
a
Yeah.
cross innovation of your grandma's crock pot and the Instapot. Now we got the air fryer. You see how that works?
Yeah.
These are all just innovations of companies that are now making billions of dollars a year, innovating products off of each other. And that's all we're talking about right now. Okay. There are millions of those product opportunities. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to go out and discover one of those products that can make a simple innovation. You probably have some ideas. You just don't need to invent. Don't go through the research and development phase. All you want to know first in that 100 units is, can I sell this product? Sales fixes everything. Sales fixes everything. Our goal in any new business is to get to revenue. The business technically starts not when the LLC is formed, but when the business starts the first sales revenue. And the faster I can test those products and find my winners, then I know where to spend my capital at a much larger amount on 1,000 units. And at that point, I will make some tweaks. I'll make 3 to 4 tweaks to that product before that next 1,000 units goes out. I already know I can sell it. I already got my listing and images and copy figured out. I already know what people are wanting to buy from me. So now I make some changes, some small changes. Okay, they want a little bit larger handle. They want the snapping lids to be a little bit bigger. They want a 24 quart instead of the 12. We saw that in the way they bought the original product. They want the black one and not the red one. Okay, we just make some sweet changes to that. And then we just go back to the market and say, here are the 4 new things about this product that you want to know about. And we literally answer the questions that person has when they're coming to get to the product. We're not trying to convince them to buy the product. We're simply answering the questions that are already in their mind, and then they will start buying it up quickly. And time and market and reviews will close that pattern of behavior, because we're going to do a great product. That's an assumption. We're not making cheap Chinese crap here. We're going to create a great product someone wants to spend $99 or $199 on. So it's going to be a great product, and we want to get good reviews, of course. So when that product cycle closes, we now have one product opportunity that we can then map out into additional product SKUs. So when we originally did our research, and you should think through this too, as you're doing your circle of confidence in your research, could that product turn into 10 different variations of that same product, right? So for example, if you have an iWatch, you probably have an iPhone, you probably have an iMac, you probably have a friend who has it, your kids have it, your wife has one, and you probably got 10 versions of those in your house, right? Most people do. So they tend to buy wide on those. And so we do the same thing. We borrow the trick from retail, okay? We'll go in and simply move additional product variations in the same packaging and move out the different colors, shapes, and sizes of our winning products, right? And we simply keep giving them more and more if they want, until that entire brand is filled up with nothing but just a variation set of that one product, right? And that's how you build a 7-figure business.
I love it. And it kind of it illustrates like a doable plan. Like, it's so frustrating to like just see something that's already been created, right? You see a product SKU, Amazon page, and you're just like, I'm not even sure what I'm looking at. I have no idea what were the steps that brought them to this, and having all the variations. But when you gamify it in this way, when you say, okay, well, I've got my 5x5 and I'll figure out my 5 products and put them out there and do everything right, but then have the marketplace tell me like which one gets to 100 sales
organically, right? So I want that 5x5 to turn over a minimum of 25 units a day organically. At a minimum of $12 in profit, I'm making $300 to $400 a day in profit. Okay,
it's just
now I got a business, right?
Yeah.
Who doesn't want $300 to $400 a day in profit? From there, the path to $3,000 a day in profit is right in front of you. Okay, more product in the same packaging, offering different variations. Same way you go to Walmart, there's not one SKU sitting in the middle of a 200,000 square foot warehouse. There's 250,000 SKUs. Okay. But what most people don't understand is that 80% of their profits come from 20% of those SKUs.
Right.
The rest are just to draw people in the store, so they buy one of that 20% that makes, Walmart $490 billion a year in sales, right? So the end result is that we also want to widen our band to get the products in. So somebody might decide, hey, I was looking at the 12 quart. Oh, you have the 24, and they buy the 24 instead. So as we widen that out, we become a brand. We don't just be selling products. We're selling an experience. We're selling an outcome. We're selling a benefit. And so we want to offer more of those benefits. And that will allow more traffic in this giant organic system, which is just the first channel of sales in an e-commerce business, okay, to go out and attack 10 to 20 million searches that are happening every year for people who want to buy crock pots on Amazon, right? And I want to get 1% of that market share. So I'm just going to focus down until I get 1% of 20 million a year. Do the math on that, right? If my profit is 12, 24, 36, am I making a profitable business? Do I know that in the next 12, 24 months, I'm going to have a profitable business as I keep hedgehogging, as Jim Collins from Good to Great says, down into that product pipeline? Absolutely, you will. And for each of my brands, that's how it works. And as you were saying a minute ago, people are like, well, what do you sell? I don't know what to sell. They think the shortcut is to sell another product that I tell them about. And the answer is, I really want you to understand that if you do this right on the front end, if you figure out what to sell to this engine, which is basically just a giant AI engine, and all of them are online nowadays, then you realize you can put anything in a box and sell it to anybody in 30 seconds or less. And that's your real opportunity. Don't focus on the product, focus on the outcome. Speak to people about what they want to buy, and the product simply becomes the transaction or the fulfillment of that agreement. Does that make sense?
It does. And it's reassuring as far as the imperfection along the way, right? When you're kind of doing this feedback loop of being like, well, what sold well? You mentioned about like the customer feedback and building
Right.
out the SKUs. And it's like, and we see this all the time with there's like ad blindness, right? And then some company says, hey, we're just going to redo our packaging, and we're going to create like some new variation, even though was that really needed? Well, it was
Right.
needed to kind of get people to sit up and notice you, and it makes you look like there's some activity, right? You're
Right.
innovating, and you're always kind of improving this year's model iPhone, even though it's kind of the same, but it just has these new features. So we're always improving, working on it.
And they're still going to make $1 billion off of that phone. So when people want what they want emotionally, they're going to stay connected to the brand. And that's what we're talking about. Building a brand, not just flipping products for profit. That's real business building. It takes 3 to 5 years to do what I'm talking about. But here's the deal. If you spend enough time, energy, attention, and money to build something for the first 3 to 5 years and do what others are not willing to do, then after that, you can live like nobody else can. Who said that?
Dave Ramsey said that.
Dave Ramsey and The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. The end result is I learned that. I am now easy rolls off the tongues for me. Oh man, I can't speak today. It rolls off the tongue easily for me now. But being in the corporate world and being into that lifestyle and being stuck in that scarcity mindset and the fear of the paycheck and the fear of leaving that, when I busted out of that in 2007 and fired the man and burned the boats, I didn't burn the bridges. That was one of the smart things I did. But the first 3 years, I failed to figure this out on my own. I had a terrible time getting it all done. And I ended up hiring a mentor in my 4th year, and he just ingrained things into me and beat them into my head. And I was finally willing to consciously accept it, where before I wasn't willing to accept it. So I know, as the saying goes, the mentor appears when the student is ready, because I was a product of that. And when I listened to that, I finally understood some of the things that I was missing in business, and how to, pull this together in such a way where I would generate products and revenues. At that point, I had a management consulting firm, and I had a staffing company for high-end management consultants. I turned around and made IBM a client after leaving them, ended up having 10 high-end management consultants building more than $250 an hour in the field, doing the work that I used to do because I was just trading time for money in a bigger box when I was the management consultant for myself. And I'm like, I got beat over the head by that. And he's like, you dummy, like you're never going to grow unless you're willing to give up something, risk something, right? Feel the fear and do it anyways. And sales fixes everything. He built those 2 things into my head: feel the fear and do it anyways, right? And so when I finally got those other consultants out in the game, I was like, wow, what a different world this is when I have actual people out there working for me and doing the business.
And sometimes you just need more brains on the problem, right? You
You
need
do.
more people in your corner. And you mentioned there like a list. In my head it spelled out team. You mentioned about
Time,
time,
energy,
energy, attention, and money.
money.
And
It's a team
so
effort.
yeah, it's a team effort, and
Right.
like one like you say about talk about burning the boats, building the bridges. One person can't build a bridge. One person can't build a boat. So it needs
That's
to
right.
be more than you working on this problem. And if you try it yourself, then you'll miss stuff, right? You'll
Yep.
burn out. You'll leave stuff done. You'll be overworked. You can't do that. And so speaking to that, we want
Mhm.
to turn people on to what's possible and some resources that are outside of their own actions and their own thinking, right? You
Yeah.
have this company, you have this training. So tell us about some next step call to actions.
Well, at the end of the day, I look for individuals who understood everything I just said and maybe were waiting to hear that from somebody. And at that point, they get triggered to say, hey, I want to have a conversation. I want to find out what's going on. At that point, I'm looking for operators in which I am vetting them through a process of qualifying whether or not they meet certain criteria that would fit the team method. Okay. I don't have a course. I don't have a program. I'm not selling 1,000 of these a month. That's not how we work. We're a management consulting firm that takes leaders and entrepreneurs and solopreneurs or maybe high-end corporate earners and gives them a bridge to stand on, an incubator to get within, and a one-on-one consultation for 12 months to help them build their first brand. Okay, build to your first million in sales. My systems, software, people, processes, and technology, I bear all of that, bringing it on. Okay, so with that, they get kind of wrapped up in the process of learning how to become a business owner. Okay, and the fundamentals of business and corporation, as well as the first channel of sales on Amazon FBA. And then we'll move to multiple channels as we make a holistic e-commerce brand. not just one channel, multiple channels. And we teach them how to do that for a specific reason. The point being, as I teach these operators to grow, I don't have employees. So my operators, the people that run our businesses, the people that run the businesses we acquire, that run the partnerships that we partner with, those are all CEO operators who were trained by us. So instead of going the employer route, I train business owners to become business owners, and then we partner on deals later on. And that makes everything a much more strategic as well as beneficial win. In the end, I also offer a fierce right of refusal. It's a gentleman's agreement, if you will, that I want to acquire their company when it gets past 7 figures. So when it's profitable and beyond 3 years, I am also the end. So they have a place to sell their business with us. Should they choose to do that, we look to acquire that company. So I'm building the operators with the intent that they're going to sell their business. So it becomes kind of a triple win if you look at it. So those folks can go over and check out our social media, go to voltagedm.com, check out the presentation that explains our business model, why we do what we do, and what kind of capital requirements are necessary to truly build a business in year 2 and 3 by building growth and capitalization of physical products in the first year, and then having a real life-changing, what we call platinum principal opportunity, which is building from the beginning with the end in mind, which is that saleable asset that is worth so much money, generational time, and wealth freedom when done correctly.
Very cool. Well, you built something amazing here. This is revolutionary, right? As far as it being an opportunity, not just here, learn some stuff. You're like, hey, here's this multi-year plan. Here's you actually building a brand, not just selling some stuff on Amazon. And so we said voltagedm.com
Yes,
is
sir.
the place where they can browse that and get some information. And we also wanted to give away some books. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was going to give away some books for those who are interested, who might like to read about this. It's a strategy. It's based on, there's 15 chapters with case studies and information of interviews that I did on my podcast called the High Voltage Business Builders Podcast. We're a top 3% podcast on Listen Notes. And it goes through the different stages of our plan, of our strategy, and our product launch playbook, supported by individuals I interviewed who are focused in expert areas of finance and research and money, and the points and components of our plan are kind of locked into that book. And it's a strategy guide to help you really understand how to build and fundamentally create a business. And then the tactics and implementation we talk about as an opportunity to work with us in our Voltage Business Builders.
Very cool. And so to give some links for that, that's voltagedm.com/free book. And the discount code is marketer. And as we said near the beginning there, it's so important to be learning, and taking action is also important, but like the information's out there, right? And so don't just be wishing that it'll work out. Like, do some research, figure out some next steps. And Neil Twa is your guide to figure out e-commerce, FBA, building a real brand. And as we're going there to those two resources, there's voltagedm.com and there's voltagedm.com/free book. It's time to get a little bit of a soundbite here from you, right? It's time to stump you somewhat, put you on the spot. I like to ask my guests near the end here about a fun, interesting, helpful quote or lesson that has served them in life or in business. So what comes to mind as far as a quote or lesson you can pass on to us, Neil?
My favorite these days is choose your hard. Life is hard. Business can be hard. Being an employee can be hard. Starting a company can be hard. Being poor can be hard. But at the end of the day, you can choose whatever is hard for you. I choose business, which is a series of problem solvings, and that's my hard to choose. And maybe it's yours, but one way or another, everything can be hard. So pick which one you plan to fight and go after it.
I love it. Very motivating and inspiring. Choose your hard. And the first step in choosing your hard is go to voltagedm.com. Go there. You'll love what you see. You'll be tapped into this new way of thinking, this new mindset, this new world of FBA, e-commerce, building a brand. Amazon is amazing. When you hear about these numbers, even what you mentioned, Neil, about the speed and the scale and the scope of this thing, we need to get involved. We need to build a real business to change our lifestyle, change our future trajectory. Voltagedm.com is the next logical step to do it. Thank you very much, Neil, for showing up and stopping by, giving us some just like 10 podcast episodes in one. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, Robert. Thank you for having me on. It's been fun. I appreciate you, sir.